Hey, this is Tarence Lauchié, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this podcast, The Growth Exchange. This podcast was designed to curate conversation, dialogue, and monologue around all things growth. I believe that everything living has the potential to grow into its fullest and most maximal potential. So let's grow. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Exchange Podcast. I'm Dr. Tarence Lauchié. Always excited when you tune in, when you listen, when you like and share, of course, and follow this. Whatever platform you are consuming this material on, why don't you share that with somebody so that they can also benefit from all things growth? Remember, here at the Growth Exchange, it's our endeavor to ignite the concepts and the ideas around growth on a personal level, professional level, spiritual level, just all things growth. Today, I've got somebody who is familiar with that and also a strong practitioner in the concept and the idea of growth and change. And that's none other than Mr. Julian S. Newman.
Yes.
And the S stands for
Sebastian, man.
Sebastian. Man, that is regal. I like that.
Well, I got teased.
I was going to say Sean.
Yeah, it's Sebastian. I didn't like the name growing up. I didn't like my first name growing up, man. I wanted my name to be David.
David.
And
I can see that.
Yeah, but it's grown on me over the years.
But
and
is this a West Coast thing?
I don't know. Maybe it is a West Coast thing. I'm not sure, but I know I didn't like it.
Well, welcome to the world of not necessarily.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I didn't like my name, but my cousin's name was Clarence, and Clarence and Terrence would get mixed up all the time with my grandparents, and I didn't like that at all. I was like, I am not Clarence. All right. Even though Clarence probably wanted to be Terrence, but so you can relate. Man, I'm glad you're here. We've had some really informal conversations, but we're formally on the air, and I'm excited. Thanks for accepting the invitation, man, to be a part of the Growth Exchange. I've watched you for more than 20 years now.
Wow.
More than 20 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think the initial meeting was you came here on a faith assignment,
Yep.
along with a pastor of a very large church. We were at a interfaith or ecumenical prayer breakfast at Grand Valley. And you were here the first week from California, got to meet you. And I said, I'm going to watch this guy. And I've watched you just explode into so many things from facilitating, teaching, acting, which we'll talk a little bit about today. Being a great dad. I mean, being a father of daughters is something pretty phenomenal, especially in this day and time.
Yeah.
But just all around respectable Black man in America, man. So I'm
Thank
glad,
you.
as they say, I'm glad to know you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's talk
Dr.
a little bit
Lauchié.
about you, man. I mean, what's going on with you now? I know that you've done quite a bit of work in the acting field, particularly as a film actor. You've done some stage,
Yeah.
but you're also an author of a book, which we'll get to talk about, Beautiful Together, as a consultant and a facilitator of training. What stands out most to you if we were to say the epitaph of Julian Newman? What would we say?
One, you talked about me being a father. I think my most important job is being a dad to my girls.
Yes.
And I want to be, I think part of being a good father is not only doing the parental things, but I think being an example to live a bold and a daring life, in the words of my daughter saying, when you're old, Dad, And so, we were talking about films. One of my favorite films back in the day is one called Hook. 1991, Robin Williams is playing Peter Pan.
Oh, wow.
And so he's playing Peter Pan, but Peter Pan has grown up and forgotten that he's Peter Pan.
That's right.
And so he gets reconnected to the fact that Neverland is Neverland and kind of rediscovers his magic again. And so for me, I want my daughters to be able to see that. And for me, I wanted to be able to express that.
So you want to live long enough to rediscover who you were in a celebration of who you are. Man, that's a nice little circle there. We talked about circles and how we know a lot of people together that our worlds intersect. And one of those areas is Institute for Healing Racism, Forest Hills Public
Yep,
Schools.
yep.
Shout out to Forest Hills. And then my oldest son, worked with you in that arena. But there was a lot of learning going on. I think it was called the Global Learners Initiative.
Yes.
Shout out, of course, to Manira Manusi,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a privilege to have been a part of that
Mm-hmm.
that growth
Mm-hmm.
in a school district.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are long gone out of the school district, but we still work. My wife still serves in some capacity. What was that like for you? That experience of the Global Learners Initiative, diversity, equity, inclusion. It obviously launched work
Well,
your work.
so powerful. Here's the thing. I moved from California, as you said, and I had an understanding of what racism was. My father grew up in the segregated South.
Hmm.
And so Mobile, Alabama, his family moved in the late 60s to California. Met my mom. My mom's family is from Louisiana, so I understood the history of racism. I understood that racism is something that happened over the course of time. I understood it from a geographic standpoint.
Hmm.
But it wasn't until I moved to the Midwest that I come to recognize the system of it, the day-to-day presence of it, as well as how it's connected to all the institutions. And so I got connected to the Institute of Healing Racism and the Global Learners um, as a participant first. I came as a participant,
Nice.
and I was so moved that I asked if I could be a volunteer.
Hmm.
And so I started volunteering and everything, and it just kind of grew from there. And so that process of we both come from a faith background.
Right.
It's like you know Apollos had an understanding of the baptism of John,
Hmm.
but then he had the understanding of there's another baptism, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I understood a version of the story of this place and space we call America, but it was not until after that I began to recognize something different and my role or responsibility to do something about it. And so you talk about that being catalytic to my journey. That was exactly that.
Hmm.
And that was a part of the foundation that led to the book, that led
Yeah.
to so
Yeah.
many things that I'm
Well, it
connected to
obviously had to
now.
be your steps being ordered,
Hmm.
being ordered by God,
Yep.
because when you came, the assignment was to work with a pastor who had taken on leadership of a
Hmm.
large church. And
Hmm.
then, well, how did that transition? Somehow you stayed,
Hmm.
because he's no longer here in the Grand Rapids area.
No,
Yeah, but you
no.
stayed.
You know,
And it's okay to shout him out. I mean, I
No,
just want to.
absolutely. Big ups to Scott Hagan and his influence or impact in my life has really shaped so much of my future. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation if
Exactly.
he was one of my professors in theological school.
Okay.
And he moved to the Midwest, and I remember thinking, "Wow, I would love to be able to be connected to him because he had a very powerful transformational church
Hmm.
that had a message that said, the church would look like heaven." He moved to the Midwest, and I'm like, "Man, I'm never going to get to be able to work with this guy." And then here I am,
Right.
and
Right.
so
And
I,
he's moved on to
and
something
there you
else.
go,
So that had to be
absolutely.
God.
And so I really felt like I felt connected to this community. I felt, called to the community. I had, a network of relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I miss my family back home,
Absolutely.
for sure, and have the opportunity to go, visit them.
Well, you
Um,
didn't burn any bridges. It's obvious
yeah,
that you still have connections because most recently you were in LA, was
yeah.
it, working on a film?
I was working on, so I was in LA with a new initiative that I have called Element, that basically is an opportunity to bring people together around the conversation of how do I find my element, how do I live in my element.
Mm.
And so I was helping screen a film called Fatherless No More,
Hmm.
that has at the center of it a pastor based in Orlando that used to play in the NFL. His name is Pastor Tim Johnson, and so he felt called of God to be able to minister to young people that are at Rikers Island.
Hmm.
And so he has been doing that over the course of years. We got connected through a mutual friend, and so we're on a tour. We were in Los Angeles. We're going to be in Atlanta, DC, and New York to be able to continue this conversation about the film itself, this documentary, but in terms of fathering, about purpose, and how do we find healing for those lost boys that have had absent
Sure.
fathers,
Who've
and
now
how do
grown
they
up to be
absolutely.
men.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's where we intersect as well because
Yeah.
the project that I've been working on the last couple of years stemmed out of my dissertation.
Mm.
It was a phenomenological study on the impact of fatherlessness on the self-efficacy of adult African American males, meaning how do they feel about themselves years later after having experienced fatherlessness. And so we had to talk a little bit more about that. I put together a manual with some 12 truths to fatherhood, having my own experience, but then also having my own experience with both the issue of fatherlessness as well as being a father of so many. I know we're bouncing around because I want to get it all on the table in this first half. Speaking of fathers, you got 4 daughters,
Hmm.
and what's the pride and joy of all of that? And raising girls is a piece of work. I only
Hmm.
have one daughter, but lots of daughters based on my son's married, and I think they're just special, man. I think they're
You
special.
know, being a girl dad has made me a better person, a better man. My girls are full of personality, full of energy, and they have made me more flexible.
Yeah,
I think my expectation is that I was going to have boys, and that was going to be what it was.
right, right.
And so when the girls started showing up, I was surprised.
It's like okay,
But um, I am deeper. I'm better. Having girls has challenged my perspective in some very unique ways. I'm thinking about a conversation I had with my oldest daughter when we were discussing a film, and we were kind of arguing about it. And she said, "Dad, you've never experienced the world as a woman." And she began to talk about these different things that are part of her everyday experience that I never thought about,
and
whether it be
it shuts you
safety.
right down, right?
Yeah, whether it be safety, whether it be this, that, you get in a car, do you think about somebody being in the back seat, or just all this stuff that I never thought about. And you talk about shutting down. I'm like, you're
You're
right.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how they can uniquely communicate so much to you just in a few sentences
Mm-hmm.
that makes you rethink your whole life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, a son wouldn't do that, but a
Mm-hmm.
daughter can do that.
Yeah.
That just shows the power, man.
Yeah.
So we have on the table your experience with DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, authorship as an author of a great book, Beautiful Together, and it's how to become a better leader and bridge builder. We'll talk a little bit about this in more detail. Of course, parenting, fatherhood, acting. I said to you that I admire the fact that you're able to pursue your creative side and at the very same time deal with very heavy and serious
Mm-hmm.
topics. Subject matters such as building bridges in corporate spaces, communal spaces, taking into consideration the intensity of what we're facing out of the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that in this book?
Well, one of the things I like to say is the book is a combination of life, leadership, and laughs.
Hmm,
And so, the title "Beautiful Together" is something that I really believe that inherently we all want. Each and every one of us wants. And it's the reason why at the end of the I Have a Dream speech is so powerful, because Dr. King gives us the opportunity of a beautiful future, the possibility of
absolutely.
a beautiful future.
Yeah,
And so I wanted the book to be named something that made you smile when you said it or thought about it. Beautiful Together. It's aspirational. It's a vision. But I also wanted it to be practical. So at the end of every chapter, there's things that you need to do to be able to exercise the ideas that you just read about.
I love it.
And so there's things that are going to make you laugh in it. There's going to make things they're going to move you. There's things going to challenge you as a leader. And I wanted those things to be fused together in a way that no matter if you are fluent in this language of inclusion, or you're just a beginner,
Hmm.
that you have the opportunity to make a connection.
Yeah. You seem to have balanced so much right on the tip of a needle, the world of parenting, the world of making a difference in a field or a subject matter that is not just touchy, but we talked briefly about the turn of the century and going from, just stark racism to Jim Crow to covert racism to systematic racism. And you also deal with the humor of and the pleasure of just acting.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's talk about the acting part, man. How
Well,
does how does that play a significant role in who you are?
well,
I called you Paul Roberson
yeah,
earlier. Yeah,
that's a high praise.
yeah,
He was able to fuse, a voice, not just literally, but metaphorically in terms of the transformation. And he was somebody that wasn't going to back down to anybody.
right.
And he was someone that was received as an artist.
And an athlete, and a
Absolutely.
yeah, and a statesman.
Oh
He
my
was all those
goodness,
things. Yeah,
all those things, and so for me, I think acting and creativity and writing and screenplay and things of that nature. To me, it's an escape. You
yeah,
know, it's I'm always thinking about, different things. Or I'm watching a movie and I'm thinking, man, how did that person say
sure,
that? Or
sure.
how did that? So for me, it's an escape. It's an opportunity to express an element of my essence as a human being that was there way before I learned all the things that I learned in relation to the history of this country and what
Yeah.
we need to do to be able to make it better.
You mentioned it as an escape, and we're going to hold this thought so we can pick it up on the other side of our break. But you said an escape. I think it's also an entryway. At the same time, it
Yeah.
has duality because
Hmm.
it helps us to enter into the life of the person you're portraying as an actor, but it also helps us to enter into an era or time past, present, or future that we wouldn't have even thought about. And it's an escape for the actor themselves to become somebody else in those moments. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about how acting is real life,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of fun involved. But then
Hmm.
there's also some very poignant positioning that you can find yourself in when you're trying to relay a great message. So, Julian Newman's with me. I want to take a few moments to get some sponsorship in here. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor for the Growth Exchange podcast, contact us. Reach out so that we can get you as well as anyone else in partnership with All Things Growth. We'll be right back. This episode has been brought to you by the Growth Center, Inc., celebrating more than 20 years of making a difference. The Growth Center's mission is to impact the community and the world through meaningful partnerships, which offer resources, life skills training, and other programs that strengthen individuals, families, and communities. The Growth Center is committed to developing a Christ-centered program that helps individuals grow in every area of their lives. It makes global impact, youth development, personal empowerment, financial fitness, and scholarship promotion. The Growth Center, Inc. at www.thegrowthcenterinc.org. Hey, welcome back. This is the Growth Exchange Podcast. I'm Dr. Tarence Lauchié, and I've got here in the studio Mr. Julian S, as in Sebastian Newman. And that's an actor's name. That is, I can see that, and the winner of tonight's Oscar is
Hey,
Julian Sebastian
hey,
Newman,
listen to
right?
your lips to God's ears. So yeah, absolutely.
So that would be the Oscar. Then we have to also get the Emmy and the Tony and the Grammy.
Yeah.
All of them,
Hey,
right?
listen, I love that. That's on
Your
my
list
vision board. Yeah,
to be an
for
EGOT.
sure. Yep.
I think you can do it.
I believe it. Hey,
What
absolutely.
what's your passion behind the acting again? We left the first half of the conversation just kind of talking about the escape of being
Hmm.
an actor and being able to get into character
Hmm.
and communicate some thoughts, time periods, those types of things. But then I interjected that it's probably also an entryway.
Hmm.
Weigh in on that of it being an exit and an entry.
I had the opportunity, not this summer, but last summer, to play Walter Lee Younger in Raising in the Sun.
Mhm.
And there is, when you talk about the escape from the real world, but there's an entry into truth. And there's the moment where Walter discovers um, his friend has taken the money,
Mhm.
and Willie, and
Willie.
and
Everybody
he
hated
has
Willie,
this,
right?
yeah, Willie, there you go. Uh, he has this crisis of what he believed and what he hoped for and what he's experiencing, and then the fallout of that decision or that theft. And so in that moment, he kind of just breaks down. And I remember backstage, one of my other castmates said, "Man, when you go, when that in that moment in that scene, man, it feels so real."
Mm-hmm.
And I turned to them and I said, "Because it is." And I said that moment is drawing on a personal experience that was a painful one.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I have the opportunity to express that pain or that loss in telling his story, but in that I'm also expressing my own.
Sure.
And so I think good acting is becoming. I don't think it's pretending.
Oh, absolutely.
I think good acting is truth. And I think good acting is, do I believe you? And so for me, it's an escape from the real world, but it's an opportunity to express an element of the real world in this fictional character in a way that is believable. And in that respect, I think is an entryway
Mm.
into um into the human experience.
Absolutely, which resolves so many unresolved issues. And we talked a little off air about, let's say Denzel, for example, playing the character or playing the role of Malcolm X, how he was so believable and so transformative to where we couldn't tell the difference between the inserted film clip of Malcolm X and Denzel playing that part. You even had an encounter where your daughter you saw you transform
Mhm.
into that role or into that person. It has gotten you some accolade, has gotten
Mhm.
you some momentum. What would you say your most ideal role would be?
Man, I love, okay, so, and that was a great question. You kind of stumped me there. Okay, I'll just talk about some
We're
roles that I
talking growth.
really,
We're
yeah.
talking growth here,
There you
right?
go. You
So you're going
forcing
you're
me.
going to grow right into it. Go ahead, man.
So I love Michael B. Jordan as Smoke and Stack in Sinners.
Yeah.
I love Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger in Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman as I forget the his is it Levy in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Okay. I didn't see that one, but I saw.
And so I would say for me, I want to be able to, in a perfect world, play a character that has a story that needs to be resolved. Killmonger is a lost boy.
Hmm.
Smoke and Stack are lost sons in
And,
some
and if you
respect
notice, all of
themselves.
them are vindicating their dads,
Yes.
either what their
Mm-hmm.
dads did or what their dads didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story of redemption there.
Mm-hmm.
I think acting gives us that opportunity. We
Yeah.
we teased a little bit about our childhood acting experiences,
Uh-huh.
and I was in a situation where I had not just a callback, but I was actually cast in a sitcom that went on the air without me. But I could have been an actor, as they would say. But I have a great appreciation for that, for what it is that you do as a serious, down to earth MBA
Mm-hmm.
with a passion for equity,
Mm-hmm.
also a father, a dad, not necessarily in these orders, but you're also an award winner. You had an opportunity to win an award. And the official title of the award, I want to make sure I get it right, is the Diversity and Inclusion Leader of the Year, along with Trevor
Mm-hmm.
Noah. What was that like?
Well, so it was during COVID.
Yeah.
All right. And so the Webbies had a social impact arm of their work, and we had just done something called Futurecast, which came out of the pandemic, which was an opportunity to be able to provide a platform for leaders to be able to build a future with the lens of hope.
Hmm.
So they saw the work that we were doing and the people that were connected to, whether it was Google, Oxfam America, Esquire magazine, and in other places and spaces. And they said, listen, we want to celebrate the fact that you're doing this work.
Nice.
And so the award ceremony was all virtual,
Hmm.
which was a very unique experience. But I think,
There was a lot of unique
yeah, it
experiences that
was
became
exactly.
virtual during that
And so
pandemic
Trevor
era.
Noah was recognized, Jane Goodall was recognized,
Wow.
and I had the opportunity to be recognized along with this illustrious group of people, man. And it was,
That in and of itself speaks
yeah,
volumes.
yeah, it was
You know,
awesome, man.
that your body of work up to this point
Hmm.
is commiserate with
Hmm.
those who we would look at as, oh, they've arrived. Arriving. What does that look like?
Well, I think that Naomi Osaka was also one of the people that was
Oh,
recognized.
wow.
I think for me, man, we live in a world that thinks clout and cash is what is going to fulfill us. But I think meaning is a thing that not just transforms us, but transforms the things that we touch and the people that we interact with.
Hmm.
And so I want to do work that is meaningful, that is impactful, that is transformative. That in this there was a woman at our church that would always say, "What comes from the heart reaches the heart."
Absolutely.
And so I want to do work that comes from the heart, that reaches the heart. The book. My daughters are very. Their stories are in there. The company that I had the opportunity to start is really a love letter to my daughters because they were catalytic to the reason why I even got into this work in the first place.
Hmm.
And so I think that energy, that love, that purpose, that impact, is connected to the work that I do, and I always want it to be connected to the work that I do, the art that I'm connected to.
And your purpose in life, obviously,
Absolutely.
you do that seamlessly, and that's the thing that stuck out was the fact that you can be at the gym, training for a strongman contest. Is it a Spartan? Is it
Spartan, it's the Spartan race, man. It's
a
in July.
Spartan race in
Yeah, I
July?
gotta get in real shape for that.
Yeah, okay. Mentally, probably, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
But you're also well-rounded enough to say, "Hey, I'm going to have dinner with my daughter." I saw you at one of the bounce places. I think it was bounce
Uh-huh. Yeah,
with
yeah,
your
yeah.
youngest daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he is dadding all the way. It was like, Dad, I was granddadding.
Yeah.
I had the grandkids. You had your daughter. I said, man, this is a well-rounded individual. And it's seamless that you have the seriousness, like I said, behind corporate, the need to impact corporate America because economically it trickles into the neighborhoods and the communities that we're from. But then also leave a mark on a stage or on a screen. And when you think about that, that's the fullness of your being. You've had pastoral background, you've had all of those things, and it culminates to who you are. What would be the description that you'd want to be noted or remembered
Mm.
by? Say, Julian, that guy that was like Paul Roberson.
I would say that I would want to be a good father, a good son, and a good friend.
Father, son, friend.
Mhm.
That sounds like Jesus.
Mhm.
That's godlike.
You
That's
know,
godlike
I,
character.
I think that we hear about people that have conversations in the last hour, the last day that they're on this planet, and it's the things that mean the most, the people that they love and have loved them, their family, the things that they've been able to do. Those are the things that mean the most, and I want that to be true of me too.
Nice. I know you've written a book. Are you thinking about screenplay, perhaps?
I am. I'm actually working. I have a short film that we're filming in May or June,
Hmm.
and it's called Black Boy Beautiful,
Okay.
and it's based on a poem that I wrote. That's kind of a semi
Your
autobiographical,
Paul Robeson is showing, man.
and yeah,
Poetry too.
and then I want to do a documentary based on the film, and then I want to do a feature based on it as well,
That'll be nice.
because I want to be an artist that doesn't just have the opportunity to participate in other people's projects, but I
But you
want to be
wanna,
a person
yeah.
that creates and makes space for my own.
Yeah, we talked about driving the narrative, and when you have a microphone, it's one thing; it has to be amplified. But when you have a megaphone, it's in your control.
Hmm.
And I think that what you've done in pulling together all of your gifts and your talents has become a megaphone versus a microphone. And that megaphone can be used in a community to rally the type of support and protest that's necessary, but it can
Mhm.
also be announcing or heralding the good news of
Right.
a grand opening.
Mm.
So you think of that as a metaphor of your life. You know, a microphone requires amplification. Sometimes people turn into different people when they get a microphone
Mm.
because there's a stage involved and there's entertainment value.
Mhm.
Whereas with the megaphone, you are you.
Mhm.
You are who you are, and it's a squawk box to
Mhm.
tell people you're here and you're on the
Mhm.
way. I think it's speaking loud and clear, man.
Mhm.
I want to give you the last few words, you know, in this conversation so that the listening audience, one, can get a hold of you. There might
Mhm.
be some directors out there looking for great actors. It may be some corporate executives looking for a
Mhm.
trainer. And maybe somebody who wants some good reading.
Mhm.
So go ahead and pitch yourself, man, for these last few moments.
Yeah. Well, hey everybody.
I know that's right.
There you go. Hey yo. I'm on all the social media channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
You go
You
all the way back to MySpace, and you know,
Yeah, you know what? I did have a MySpace back in the day. I don't think it's active now,
you
and
got an
if it is
AOL, you
active,
got an
I can't get
AOL
there. There
email
you go. I
address.
can't. Yeah, there you go. I can't get connected to it. So if you send me a MySpace message, I'm not gonna get it. Okay. So
You do a little comedic work too.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I've done some things.
I know,
Yeah,
man.
make some folks laugh. So yeah, you can hit me on all the channels. You can hook me up, hit me up at Julian S Newman .com. I believe that's it. And I would love to be able to partner with you if you've got a great project or something of that nature. And if you are a business or a corporation or something, I believe that all of us, the tagline of my book is that all of us have something, none of us have everything, but we put all of our something together, we have everything. We're more beautiful together.
I was gonna say more beautiful together. That's the
And
tagline.
I really believe that all of us want that. We just have to be able to put practical things in place in order to achieve that thing that we all really deeply desire.
Man, there you have it. Julian S. Newman, author, actor, playwright, great dad,
Hmm.
and just an all-around guy, Renaissance man.
Thank
Thank
you.
thank you for being here. I look forward to connecting with you, perhaps with our F3 Summit
Hmm.
symposium that we're doing, Fathers, Faith, and Freedom, coming up in June of this year, and then other future works. Keep me in mind when you're casting.
Absolutely. I will. I absolutely. You know, it's so funny. When we talked the other day, I was like, you know what? Let me
Yeah.
think about him for something.
So
So
he
yeah,
could play
yeah.
an older me, right? No. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you
Thank you.
being
Thank
here,
you very
and
much.
you
Yep.
will be back.
Yes, I will.
All right.
Yeah.
Listen,
Thank
thank you
you.
all so much for tuning into this episode of the Growth Exchange podcast. I'm Dr. Terence Lauchié, and as always, thrilled that you decided to be a part of this growth process. I think that everything living has the potential to grow into its maximum fulfilled purpose in earth. So let's grow. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Growth Exchange. I'm Dr. Tarence Lauchié. It's been a pleasure to have these conversations and dialogues with our guests. If you notice, one thing we all share in common, and that is the ability, the desire, and the potential to grow and maximize our fullest potential. So keep tuning in. Share this with somebody, like it, maybe even invite somebody. And if you'd like to be a guest, contact us with the information that's here and available for you. Let's grow.